I'm 27, and until recently, I thought I understood the concept of family love. Turns out, I just hadn't seen what it looks like when love turns into mockery dressed up as support. My name's Ryan, and I'm the punchline of my family's favorite joke. Or at least, I was, until the night everything changed. I grew up in a loud, opinionated family where sarcasm was basically a love language. Sunday dinners were less about bonding and more about surviving the next roast session. My mom and dad weren't cruel exactly, but they had this way of turning every insecurity into a family anecdote. If I failed a test, it became the story of Ryan's legendary D in physics. If I dated someone who dumped me, it was that time Ryan scared off another one. You get the idea. The laughter always came at my expense, and I was expected to laugh too, because that's what family does, right? We don't take things so seriously. By the time I graduated with a psychology degree, I was already used to being the sensitive one. My dad, a contractor who built houses with his hands, always said my soft degree wouldn't build me a future. My mom would chime in with something like, well, maybe you can psychoanalyze the customers when you're waiting tables. My older brother, Luke, joined in too. He worked in finance and never missed a chance to flex his paycheck. Meanwhile, my younger sister Emma was the golden child, studying medicine, volunteering, somehow perfect at everything. So when I got invited to what my parents called a graduation party, I actually felt hopeful. They'd said they wanted to celebrate me finally finishing college. My dad even told me to wear something nice. For once, I thought maybe, just maybe, they were proud of me. When I walked into the backyard that night, though, the first thing I saw stopped me cold. There was a giant white banner hanging between two trees with bold red letters that read, "Our family's biggest disappointment," with a degree in psychology. At first, I thought it was a prank. You know, a quick laugh before the real surprise banner came out. But then everyone started clapping and laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. My uncle, my mom's brother, actually wiped a tear from his eye. He was laughing so hard. "Oh, this is perfect," he said, slapping my dad's back. "You really nailed it, Mike." I stood there frozen, holding a small gift I'd brought for my mom, a framed photo of us from when I was a kid. My stomach twisted so hard it felt like my body was trying to reject the moment. My dad shouted, "Come on, Ree. Don't look so serious. It's a joke. Lighten up, Dr. Freud." Laughter rippled again. My aunt yelled, "Maybe he can analyze why he's always so moody." Someone else shouted, "Careful, he might start charging by the hour." I wanted to disappear. Every smile in that yard looked like a blade. I caught my reflection in the sliding glass door. My polite smile looked so fake it hurt. Every instinct screamed to leave, but I didn't want to give them the satisfaction. So I laughed. Loud, maybe too loud. I nodded and said, "Good one." I even joked back, "Well, at least I can help all of you figure out why you need to laugh at me to feel better about your lives." That earned me another round of laughter, but it wasn't laughter with me. It was at me again, like always. Dinner wasn't much better. My mom had gone all out, buffet-style setup, balloons, even a cake shaped like a brain. The inscription said, "For the man who knows nothing about real work, but everything about feelings." My uncle Mark kept calling me Dr. Disappointment. My brother Luke joked about sponsoring me since I'd never afford my own place on a psychologist's salary. It was humiliating. Every minute felt like a performance, and I was playing the fool. But the worst part was realizing that no one, literally no one, saw anything wrong with it. My mom smiled at me proudly, like she'd done something good. My dad kept telling guests, "We just love to tease each other." Emma, my sister, just gave me a sympathetic smile from across the table, like she pitied me but wouldn't dare intervene. When the night started to wind down, I quietly excused myself and went inside. I needed air, silence, anything. I sat in the hallway for a moment, trying to slow my breathing. Then I overheard my Uncle Mark near the kitchen saying, "Honestly, Mike, you should have gone with my idea, Ryan. Proof that participation trophies don't work." Everyone laughed again, even my mom. That's when something inside me broke, not in an angry outburst kind of way, but in a cold, surgical one. I realized I'd spent my entire life giving this family my vulnerability like it was a gift, and they kept turning it into a weapon. They mocked what they didn't understand, and I'd been their favorite target for years. But that night, something changed. I decided I wasn't going to let it slide this time. I walked back out to the patio, where most of the family was still lingering, laughing, half drunk, and loud. My dad looked at me and said, "You're not leaving already, are you?" I smiled and said, "Nah. Just wanted to say bye to Uncle Mark before I go." I found him leaning against the fence, talking with two of my cousins. He raised his beer when he saw me. "Hey, Dr. Disappointment. You good, kid?" "Yeah," I said, smiling. "Hey, Uncle Mark, how's Aunt Laura doing these days?" His grin faltered for a split second. "She's fine," he said, a little too quickly. "Really?" I tilted my head slightly. "That's good. She didn't look too fine last week when she was leaving your neighbor's house in tears." Silence. His cousin's smiles vanished. Mark's eyes darted to them, then back to me. "What are you talking about?" he said, voice tightening. I shrugged. "Maybe I'm mistaken. Probably nothing. You know me, reading too much into things." I gave him a pat on the shoulder and added, "But I'm sure the rest of the family would love to hear about it. You know how fast word spreads." And with that, I left. I didn't look back. I didn't have to. I could already feel the shift in the air, the tension, the confusion, the whisper that would turn into wildfire. That one sentence was all it would take to unravel the perfect family image they were so proud of. I didn't plan on coming back. But as it turns out, I didn't have to. Because within 2 weeks, everything started to fall apart, and it all began with that one comment at the party. The thing about families like mine is that chaos doesn't erupt all at once. It leaks through the cracks slowly, quietly, until one day everything collapses under the weight of all the fake smiles. After the party, I tried to move on. I told myself I'd just focus on my life and let them be who they were. But something strange started happening within days. My phone buzzed constantly, missed calls, group chats, sudden invitations from relatives who'd ignored me for years. It didn't take long to realize what had started it all: my Uncle Mark. Apparently, my little comment had spread faster than I expected. I didn't even say much, just enough to plant doubt, and that was all it took. Mark's wife, Aunt Laura, called my mom in tears 2 days later. My mom, being the queen of gossip, told my dad, who told Luke, who told Emma, who told her best friend. You get the idea. By the time the story came full circle, half the family was talking about Mark's affair, and the other half was debating whether I'd made it up. When I showed up at my parents' house the next weekend, I could feel the tension before I even stepped through the door. My mom was in the kitchen, whispering furiously on the phone. As soon as she saw me, she hung up and said, "Ryan, what did you say to Mark?" "Hi to you too," I said, kicking off my shoes. "Don't play dumb," she snapped. "He's been calling everyone saying you're spreading rumors about him and Laura." I leaned against the counter. "I didn't spread anything. I said something to him, not about him. If it's turning into gossip, maybe that's not my fault." She crossed her arms. "Ryan, you can't do things like that. You know how sensitive Mark is." That made me laugh, loudly. "Sensitive? Mom, he literally called me Dr. Disappointment in front of 20 people. He's sensitive." She sighed, rubbing her temples. "That was a joke, Ryan. We all joke." "Right," I said. "You joke. I get humiliated. Same pattern, just different nights." That was when my dad walked in. "What's going on here?" "Your son is stirring up family drama," Mom said, clearly trying to recruit him to her side. Dad looked at me like I was some kind of problem he had to fix. "Ryan, what's wrong with you lately? You've always been so touchy, but this is ridiculous." Something about that word, touchy, set me off. "I'm not touchy," I said, trying to stay calm. "I'm just tired of pretending it's fine when everyone treats me like a joke. That banner, the comments, all of it, it wasn't funny." He scoffed. "It was harmless." Everyone laughed. "Yeah," I said quietly, "except me." He sighed like he was talking to a child. "You really need to grow thicker skin. The world doesn't care about your feelings." I smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile that reaches your eyes. "Yeah, I've learned that, especially from you." For a moment, the room went silent. My mom looked like she wanted to say something, but couldn't. My dad grabbed his keys and muttered, "I'm not doing this today," before storming out. That was the conversation that cemented what I already knew. I wasn't part of this family anymore. I was an outsider they tolerated out of obligation. Over the next week, I started noticing the favoritism more clearly than ever. It was always there, but now it was like a spotlight had been turned on. My brother Luke came over to my parents' house one night while I was there, and they practically rolled out a red carpet for him. Dad poured him a beer, Mom cooked his favorite meal, and they spent the evening bragging about his latest promotion. When Luke talked about buying a new BMW, Dad nearly burst with pride. "That's my boy," he said, clapping Luke on the back. Meanwhile, when I mentioned that I'd landed a paid internship at a counseling center, my mom smiled politely and said, "That's nice, dear. Maybe it'll help you find a real job eventually." Luke smirked. "You mean an adult job?" I wanted to fire back, but I didn't. I just said, "You're right," and excused myself to go outside. Sitting alone on the porch, I thought about every moment that had led up to this. Every family dinner, every joke. Every time I'd let it slide because I wanted to keep the peace. That night, I realized peace doesn't come from silence. It comes from boundaries. And I was finally ready to set some. The real shift started a few days later when Emma called me. She rarely called unless she wanted something. So I was already skeptical. "Hey, Ree," she said cheerfully. "So, Mom and Dad are thinking about having another family dinner this weekend. You should come." "Why?" I asked. "So I can be the entertainment again?" She hesitated. No, it's not like that. They just want to talk things out. Smooth over what happened." "Smooth over," I repeated. "So, they want me to pretend I wasn't humiliated at my own graduation party." "Ryan," she sighed. "It wasn't that bad. You know how Dad is. He jokes to show love." "That's not love," I said flatly. "That's disrespect." There was a pause. "Look," she said, lowering her voice. "I get it, okay? They've always been tough on you. But maybe if you just show them you're doing fine, they'll back off." That hit me harder than I expected. "So, the solution is to prove my worth to them?" I asked quietly. Again, she didn't answer, and that told me everything I needed to know. I didn't go to that dinner. And that's when things got worse. My mom called me the next day, furious. "You embarrassed us, Ryan. Everyone came expecting to see you." "I didn't ask for that dinner," I said calmly. "Well, you made us look bad," she snapped. "Do you realize how selfish that is?" That word again, selfish. It's funny how people who take everything from you will still find a way to call you selfish when you stop giving. By the next week, I was pretty much cut off. My parents stopped inviting me to family events. My brother stopped replying to texts. Even Emma grew distant. But that didn't mean they stopped talking about me. I started hearing from cousins. "Hey, man, your mom says you've been going through something." Or, "Your dad told me you're having trouble keeping a job." It was classic manipulation. If they couldn't control me, they'd control the story about me. But then, something unexpected happened. Aunt Laura, yes, the one who supposedly had nothing to hide, called me. Her voice was shaky. "Ryan," she said, "I need to ask you something. What did you see that night?" I hesitated. "I'm not sure what you mean. You told Mark you saw me leaving our neighbor's house. Did you?" I didn't answer right away. "Why?" She sighed. "Because I did. But it wasn't what he thinks. I wasn't cheating. I was helping her with something personal, and he's using your comment as an excuse to make me look bad." That made me pause. "So he's blaming me?" "Yes," she said, her voice breaking. "He's telling everyone you're spreading lies to get revenge for that party." And there it was, the spark. The same people who had made me the family joke were now trying to paint me as the villain. I could have let it go. I could have ignored it, moved on, tried to rebuild somewhere else. But the thing about being mocked your whole life is that eventually, you learn exactly where everyone's pressure points are. I didn't tell her the truth that night. I just listened, nodded, and said I'd think about what to do. Then I hung up, opened my laptop, and started typing. If my family wanted to keep playing their little games, they were about to learn what happens when you underestimate the disappointment with a psychology degree. Because I'd spent my whole life analyzing people like them. Every insecurity, every pattern of behavior, every secret they thought no one noticed. And I knew exactly how to make those cracks widen. That night, I made a list of everyone who had laughed at that banner. Every single one. And I started planning. The list sat on my desk for days, a wrinkled sheet of paper covered in names and notes, each one a tiny reminder of the night I stopped belonging to my own family. I didn't know exactly what I wanted yet, but I knew I wanted them to feel it. The humiliation, the isolation, the sting of being the punchline. But revenge wasn't the only thing on my mind. I also wanted answers. Why did they treat me that way? Why did my parents, the people who were supposed to lift me up, take such joy in tearing me down? Before I could decide how to start, though, my family made the next move. It started on a Thursday morning when my boss, the director of the counseling center where I'd just started interning, called me into her office. "Ryan," she said, closing the door gently, I received a concerning email about you. My stomach dropped. What kind of email? She turned her computer screen toward me. It was an anonymous message claiming that I was emotionally unstable and unfit to handle clients responsibly. It went on to say that I'd been asked to leave my family's home after violent outbursts and struggled with delusions. My mouth went dry. I could feel heat building in my face as I read it. None of that's true, I said finally, my voice shaking. I know, she said calmly. I told the board as much. But we still have to investigate. Until it's resolved, I'll have to limit your client contact. Limit. That meant I'd be doing admin work instead of what I actually loved, talking to people, helping them. It was humiliating, and worse, it was familiar. The same pattern again. Someone sabotaging me while pretending it was for my own good. I left work that day with one goal: find out who sent it. I didn't have to look far. That night, I called Emma. Do you know anything about an email sent to my boss? There was a pause, long enough for me to know she did. Ryan, It was you, I said. No, she snapped. Not me. But Mom mentioned something about trying to get through to you. She said you were shutting everyone out and maybe needed help before you hurt yourself. I sat there in silence. My own mother, the same woman who had told me to grow thicker skin, was now spreading rumors that I was mentally unstable. She told people I was dangerous? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I think she just exaggerated, Emma said quickly. She didn't mean harm. She ruined my job. I cut in. That's harm, Emma. There was another pause. Ryan, please don't make this worse. Mom's been under a lot of stress. I hung up. For the next few days, I couldn't eat or sleep. I kept replaying every moment of that night in my head. Her smile at the party, the way she laughed when they mocked me, the way she'd said, "It's just a joke." It all made sense now. To her, I wasn't a person, I was a project. Something she could fix or control. But the betrayal wasn't over yet. A week later, I got a text from my dad. We need to talk. Family meeting. Be at the house at 6. I almost didn't go. But part of me wanted to see how far they'd go, how deep the knife would twist. When I walked into the living room, everyone was already there. Mom, Dad, Luke, and Emma. Even Uncle Mark was sitting on the couch, his face unreadable. My mom started. Ryan, we're worried about you. I laughed, an actual laugh this time, sharp and bitter. Worried about me? You're the one spreading rumors that I'm crazy. Her face tightened. I didn't spread rumors. I told a few people I'm concerned for your well-being. That's what families do when someone's struggling. Struggling. I repeated. I was fine until you decided to turn my life into a pity campaign. Dad cut in. Watch your tone, son. No, I said, standing up. You don't get to call me son after what you did. Luke scoffed. You're being dramatic. Mom was trying to help. Help, I said, my voice cracking. By lying to my boss. By making me look like I'm unhinged. That's not help. That's sabotage. Mom's eyes were glossy now, the way they always got when she wanted to play victim. Ryan, I only did what any mother would do. You've been distant, angry. I've been disrespected, I snapped. You humiliated me in front of the whole family, and when I finally stood up for myself, you decided to ruin my career. Dad leaned forward, his voice low. You're out of line. No, I said again, feeling something inside me finally click into place. For the first time in my life, I'm in line. I'm seeing this family for what it is. Mark shifted uncomfortably. All right, maybe we should calm down. I turned to him. You should probably stay quiet, Mark. I wouldn't want your neighbor to overhear. His face went pale, and the room went dead silent. Dad stood up, his jaw tight. That's enough. You come into my house, disrespect your mother, your uncle, your house. I said quietly. Right? It's yours. Everything's yours. The house, the stories, the control. Mom looked at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Ryan, what happened to you? What happened, I said, is that I stopped trying to make people love me by letting them hurt me. For a second, I thought she might actually understand. But then she said the one thing that broke something permanent inside me. You've always been the problem, Ryan. Even when you were a kid, you just can't handle a little tough love. That was it. The sentence that flipped a switch. I didn't yell, didn't throw anything, didn't storm out. I just looked